Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're unpacking something we all definitely encounter: stress.
Mm.
For so many of us, it just feels like constantly juggling too many balls,
Yeah,
right? Or navigating tough life events and just being completely, overwhelmed. I
yeah.
mean, who hasn't felt that immense pressure sometimes?
It's a universal experience, absolutely. And our guide for this deep dive, this really insightful book, Stress by DK, by Dr. Diane McIntosh and Dr. Jonathan Horowitz, it really zeroes in on the core of it.
Okay.
Dr. Horowitz, who founded the San Francisco Stress and Anxiety Center, he suggests that stress isn't just these external things happening to us.
Right.
Fundamentally, it's our conviction, our belief
Yeah.
that we won't actually be able to cope with the challenges we're facing.
Wow. That's a pretty profound way to look at it, isn't it?
It is.
So, our mission today, then, is to pull out the most powerful insights from this resource. We want to have you, our listener, really understand stress, maybe discover some practical ways to approach it, and, ultimately build the strength to navigate whatever life throws your way with a bit more ease.
Absolutely. And while, yeah, some people might seem naturally resilient, the really empowering news here is that the skills you need to recover quickly from stress, they're entirely learnable.
That's great news.
Anyone can develop them. So this deep dive hopefully aims to arm you with those very skills.
Okay, so let's kick things off by maybe challenging a really common assumption.
Mhm.
We almost instinctively think of stress as just inherently bad, right? Something to avoid, like at all costs.
Yeah, the enemy.
Exactly. But our source suggests it's not stress itself, but actually our reaction to it. Hans Selye, often called the father of stress research, he famously put it, it's not stress that kills us, it is our reaction to it.
That's such a crucial starting point. The book highlights what it calls a toxic relationship to stress, which is basically seeing stress as this overwhelming force you're just helpless against.
Right, like you're doomed.
Exactly. And research, like a 2006 American study, actually shows that this very mindset, this belief that stress will harm you or that you can't cope, it significantly increases your vulnerability to things like anxiety disorders and panic attacks.
So getting stressed about being stressed is the real issue.
That's where the real trouble often begins, yes.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think, because the surprising upside is that, well, moderately stressful events can actually be good for us.
It seems counterintuitive, but yeah.
Take the brain, for example. Research out of the University of California, Berkeley showed that moderate, sort of intermittent stress can actually lead to new neural connections.
Right, neuroplasticity.
Which in turn can improve memory. It's almost like our brains are kind of designed to be sharpened by a certain amount of challenge.
It's true.
Yeah.
And, it extends beyond just the brain. Studies on animals have shown that when they're subjected to various stresses, their bodies can actually produce more infection-fighting white cells.
Huh. Like a defense mechanism?
It's a natural survival mechanism,
Yeah.
yeah. Preparing the body to fend off potential infections in times of perceived danger. So that revved up feeling we get, it isn't always a bad thing.
This sounds a lot like the power of belief or mindset. There was that fascinating 2013 study by Aaliyah Crum with employees at a financial institution.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Those who were shown videos describing stress as life-enhancing actually reported increased productivity and, well, overall well-being.
But wasn't there a condition?
Yes. The key was that they had to frame the stress not as just a burden, but as a worthwhile challenge. That reframing was crucial.
Which truly illuminates how the same stressful situation, the one that causes our bodies to respond with that increased physiological arousal, heart pounding, maybe sweaty palms,
Yeah.
it can lead to two dramatically different outcomes. You can have that negative response where you feel strained, your performance suffers, your system just feels, well, overwhelmed. Or you can cultivate a positive response where you feel energized, you rise to the challenge, your body functions optimally, and your performance actually improves.
So it really boils down to how you interpret that initial feeling.
Exactly. How you choose to appraise that initial feeling of arousal. That's your leverage point.
That's quite a powerful shift in perspective. And it makes you wonder, if the American Psychological Association found that most people see like 3.8 out of 10 as a healthy stress level, but they rank their own stress at 5.1.
There's a gap.
Can we actually learn to get ourselves closer to that healthier level?
The resounding answer from our source is yes, absolutely. And it starts with developing resilience.
Okay, resilience.
As the Brazilian psychologist Rachel Dias defines it, and I think this is beautiful, resilience is not invulnerability to stress, but rather the ability to recover from negative events.
Ah, so it's about the bounce back.
It's about your capacity to bend without breaking, exactly, to bounce back rather than shatter.
And, some of the tactics for building that resilience might actually surprise you. There's this American psychologist, George Bonanno, whose studies in the 90s introduced a concept he called coping ugly.
Coping ugly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he observed people who navigated really profound stress and loss, yet somehow managed to maintain their mental health and their methods. They weren't always textbook perfect, let's say.
Like what?
Well, things like maybe exaggerating how well they behaved under stress to avoid blaming themselves or actively refusing to even entertain negative thoughts, almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Interesting.
Some even used humor, maybe
Yeah.
sometimes dark humor or jokes in questionable taste just to laugh it off.
Right, whatever gets you through.
Exactly. And the big takeaway here is this. Don't feel guilty about using unconventional means if they genuinely help you cope and get back on your feet. Your unique path to resilience, it's valid.
That's a really important point. And building on that, the book highlights several key strategies to sort of cultivate resilience more consciously.
Okay.
One is persevering through past failures, drawing strength from thoughts like, okay, I've survived worse than this, I'll manage this too.
Right. Drawing on past evidence.
Another is finding good role models,
Mm.
observing someone who overcame adversity and thinking, my mom raised me all by herself, I can handle this.
Makes sense.
It also involves consciously interpreting your feelings more positively. So instead of saying, oh God, I'm feeling so nervous, you actively reframe it as, okay, let's call this an exciting challenge.
Turning anxiety into excitement.
Kind of, yeah. And finally, there's the power of social persuasion, really internalizing positive affirmations from trusted friends. Like, my best friend says I'm resourceful. Maybe they're actually right.
Okay, so we've established that stress isn't always the villain, and resilience is definitely something we can build up. Now, let's maybe dig a bit deeper into some specific manifestations of stress and how we can cope more effectively.
Good idea. And it's probably important here to clarify the difference between, say, worry, anxiety, and stress itself.
Yeah, they often get lumped together.
They do. Our source explains that worry is often that repetitive loop of what-if thoughts, an attempt to avoid unpleasant consequences.
Right, that mental hamster wheel.
Exactly. But here's the key distinction. It's not truly thinking through a problem. Genuine thinking through involves active problem solving, which is what gives you that greater sense of control. That differentiates it from unproductive worry.
And anxiety.
Anxiety is, well, it's generally a more generalized sense of apprehension and unease, often without a really clear, identifiable stressor. Stress is usually tied to a specific challenge or demand.
Okay, that clarifies things. This reminds me a bit of the Yerkes-Dodson model, that sort of inverted U-shaped graph.
The performance curve.
Yeah. Imagine a hill.
Yeah.
A little bit of pressure gets you moving up towards the peak, that optimal spot for performance, focus, alertness, sometimes called flow.
The sweet spot.
Right. Too little pressure, though, and you're down in the valley, disengaged, unmotivated. But crucially, too much pressure pushes you right over the top of the hill and down the other side, leading to feeling flustered, overwhelmed, unable to concentrate.
It's all about finding that balance. And when it comes to coping with that pressure, the source describes two main approaches: problem-focused and emotion-focused.
Okay, what's the difference?
Well, problem-focused coping directly tackles the stressor itself, making a plan, seeking information. Emotion-focused coping manages the feelings about the stressor, things like seeking support or reframing.
Oh, okay.
And a really great example of the latter and just how powerful reframing can be comes from a 2014 American study. They look at karaoke singers.
Karaoke, really?
Yep. The singers who were told to say, I am excited, right before their performance actually felt more confident and performed objectively better than those who were told to say, I am nervous.
Wow, just changing that one phrase.
Yeah. Simply changing that internal narrative. Even for an emotion-focused approach, like managing pre-performance jitters, made a huge difference.
That's a perfect lead-in, actually, to talking about perfectionism, because for so many people, that's a huge internal stressor.
Oh, absolutely.
As Brené Brown famously said, understanding the difference between healthy striving and perfectionism is critical.
And the debate around perfectionism is quite lively in psychology. You have American psychologist Kenneth Rice distinguishing between adaptive and maladaptive perfectionism.
Adaptive meaning.
Adaptive suggests having high standards, but also being able to cope constructively with setbacks. But then you have someone like Canadian psychologist Paul Hewitt, who argues pretty strongly that perfectionism is never truly adaptive.
Never.
He argues it consistently increases the risk of mental health issues like depression, anxiety, eating disorders, things like that. And a 2003 British study seems to support the caution it found the worst outcomes for people who combine perfectionism with avoidance coping.
So setting impossible standards and then avoiding dealing with the problems that creates.
Exactly. That combination seems particularly potent for leading to significant stress and often eventually burnout.
Okay, so if you recognize some of those perfectionistic tendencies in yourself, what can you actually do?
Well, Jeff Szymanski from the International OCD Foundation offers some really practical advice.
Like what?
First, prioritize based on your actual values. You simply can't do everything perfectly, so focus on what truly matters. Second, learn to tolerate imperfection. Sometimes good enough really is good enough.
That's a tough one for perfectionists.
It is. And third, find role models who handle similar goals but maybe with less struggle or self-criticism. Learn from them.
That makes sense.
And the Anxiety Disorders Association of British Columbia also suggests a neat trick, creating stress-saving index cards with positive, realistic statements.
It's like little reminders.
Yeah, something you can pull out as a quick reality check when those overly critical, perfectionistic thoughts start creeping in.
I like that. Practical.
And building on that idea of shifting our internal dialogue, self-compassion emerges as a really powerful tool.
Self-compassion. Okay.
British psychologist Paul Gilbert developed compassion-focused therapy, or CFT. His idea is that some people have an overactive threat detection system, making them sort of hypervigilant to potential stressors.
Right, always on alert.
Exactly. So CFT helps them learn to relax and soothe themselves. It involves techniques focusing on compassionate attention, feeling, and even sensation, like noticing how your body physically feels when you intentionally evoke a sense of compassion for yourself.
And there's science behind this.
Oh, yes. Quite compelling science.
Yeah.
A 2008 British study found that a simple visualization exercise, just picturing an ideal compassionate figure, maybe someone kind and wise, actually significantly reduced levels of the stress hormone cortisol in participants.
Wow. Just from visualizing.
Just from that mental exercise.
Mm-hmm.
It really goes to show the tangible power of being kinder to yourself internally.
Amazing.
Another remarkable tool, maybe less known, is expressive writing.
Writing things down.
Yeah, but in a specific way. Pioneering research by Joshua Smith back in 1998 showed actual immune system benefits for patients dealing with chronic conditions like arthritis and asthma just from writing about stressful experiences.
Immune system benefits?
Yeah, and a 2004 New Zealand study found similar benefits for HIV/AIDS patients. The key, though, according to the source, isn't just venting or ranting onto the page, which can sometimes just amplify negative feelings.
Right, that doesn't always help.
No. It's about processing and understanding the feelings associated with the stress. The source offers practical tips. Write continuously for a set period, maybe 15-20 minutes. Write for your eyes only, so you feel safe. And crucially, stop if it starts to feel too overwhelming or upsetting.
So it's about constructive emotional processing, not just an emotional dump.
Precisely.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about some specific life stressors that, well, almost everyone can relate to, starting with self-esteem.
Ah, yes, the foundation.
It really does seem like the foundation of how we cope, doesn't it? The book emphasizes the importance of secure self-esteem, liking yourself for who you fundamentally are, warts and all, rather than basing your worth on external achievements or comparisons.
That comparison trap is so easy to fall into.
So easy. And our source wisely puts it, there will always be somebody who can do something we can't. Constantly comparing is just a recipe for feeling inadequate.
Absolutely spot on. And on the topic of cultivating that secure self-esteem, American psychologist Guy Winch offers very practical tips for increasing what he calls a sense of mastery.
Mastery.
Yeah, that feeling of competence. A 2011 Swiss study identified it as crucial for self-worth. Winch suggests forgetting those generic affirmations like, I am wonderful, if you don't genuinely believe them.
They can feel hollow.
It can actually backfire sometimes.
Yeah.
Instead, he says, identify your authentic strengths no matter how small or niche they might seem, things you're genuinely good at or enjoy, and then consciously engage those abilities more often. When you do things you're good at, it naturally reinforces your sense of competence and intrinsic worth, building that secure self-esteem from the inside out.
That makes a lot of sense. Engage your strengths.
Another point from British psychiatrist Neil Burton is about creating a comfortable personal space, your home, your room, your desk. Making it a place that reflects you and makes you feel good can subtly reinforce your self-worth too.
Interesting connection. Let's move to another huge one. work.
Oh, yeah. Top of the list for many.
For so many people, right. We're talking about everything from feeling like you have no control over your tasks to confusing expectations from bosses or just being stuck in an outright unhealthy, maybe toxic work culture.
It can genuinely grind you down, often without you even realizing how much until it's too late.
And if that work stress goes unmanaged, it can really culminate in burnout, can it?
Absolutely. Burnout is essentially the endpoint of chronic, unmanaged stress. And clinically, it looks very similar to clinical depression. There's a strong, well-documented causal link between chronic stress and depression.
Scary.
It is. And Phil Sheridan, an expert on the topic, notes that burnout can affect almost any professional, from top boss to rank-and-file employee. It's not just about certain jobs. Key risk factors include feeling like you lack job control, having unclear or conflicting expectations, being in a toxic work culture, and consistently working excessive hours.
So what can you do proactively? How can you try to prevent burnout before it hits?
Our source offers some clear, actionable advice. First, make sure you're actively spending time with supportive colleagues. Connection buffers stress. Second, set clear electronic boundaries for work communications, especially outside of work hours.
Put the phone away.
Basically, yes. Third, genuinely enjoy and protect your leisure time away from work hobbies, relaxation, whatever recharges you. And fourth, maybe a mindset shift. Internalize that true happiness often comes from living simply and meaningfully, not solely from earning more money or achieving the next promotion.
That's a big one. And what about those moments when the sheer volume of work feels overwhelming and that urge to procrastinate just takes over?
Procrastination, we've all been there. American psychiatrist David D. Burns has a fantastic quote: "Action must come first, and the motivation comes later on. Don't wait to feel like doing it.
Just start.
Just start." A powerful practical strategy is called eating the frog.
Eating the frog.
Yeah, tackling your most dreaded, unpleasant task first thing in the morning. Get it out of the way. Once that's done, the rest of your day often feels significantly lighter and more manageable.
I could see how that would work.
Also, Peter Drucker's famous SMART goals framework, making goals specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, helps break down large, intimidating tasks into smaller, less overwhelming steps.
Makes it feel less daunting.
Exactly. And finally, there's the learned industriousness theory by Robert Eisenberger. It suggests that if we consistently associate hard work with rewards, even small internal rewards like satisfaction, the effort itself can eventually become less aversive, maybe even a bit rewarding.
Training yourself to find effort rewarding. Interesting. Okay, now let's explore some really accessible strategies for coping with stress day to day, starting with something simple. Nature.
Ah, yes, the time-honored cure of nature.
It really seems to be. There was that famous Pennsylvania hospital study back in the 70s that found patients recovering from surgery who had views of trees actually healed faster, needed less pain medication, and reported brighter moods compared to those facing a brick wall.
That's a pretty strong endorsement right there. And the modern research backs it up consistently.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The restorative effects are quite compelling. For example, a 2015 Canadian study found that city dwellers living on streets with more trees experienced a health boost equivalent to being $20,000 richer or 7 years younger.
Wow. Just from trees.
Apparently so. Nature also seems to foster resilience in kids. A 2003 American study showed that children living in difficult circumstances tended to thrive better if they lived in greener, more accessible, natural environments.
That's powerful.
And for breast cancer patients, another 2003 American study found that just 2-hour-long sessions in nature per week significantly reduced their stress levels and even improved cognitive function.
So getting outside really matters. But what if a full nature hike isn't practical day to day?
Good question. Even just listening to natural sounds can help. A 2013 Swedish study found that participants recovered faster from a stressful math test if they listened to nature sounds afterwards, compared to noisy environments.
So put on a nature sounds playlist.
It could definitely help. And then there's the Japanese practice of Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing.
Forest bathing.
Yeah, it's basically mindful guided walks in nature. Studies show it lowers cortisol levels, blood pressure, and heart rate. It ties into the Kaplan's attention restoration theory. The idea that our modern, busy urban environments constantly demand our focused attention, which gets depleted. Nature, with its gentle, softly fascinating stimuli, allows that directed attention to rest and restore. It lets your mind wander in a restorative way.
Letting your mind rest. That sounds good.
And it's not just our eyes that benefit from nature. Our ears can be healers, too, through music.
Ah, music. Definitely a go-to for many.
And for good reason. It's consistently shown to reduce stress. A 2016 British study found that singing, even in a group, modulates mood and reduces stress hormones. Another American study in 2013 showed that listening to music significantly aided stress recovery after participants performed a challenging task.
So whether it's a walk in the park, listening to birdsong, or just putting on your favorite calming playlist.
These seemingly simple acts can have genuinely profound effects on your stress levels and your ability to cope.
Okay, next up, let's talk about the power of movement, but specifically mindful movement. Things like walking, yoga, tai chi.
Yes, incredibly beneficial.
Take walking, for instance. It's so accessible. The source mentions it offers both a chance for focused mindfulness, paying attention to your steps, your breath, the environment, and a positive form of mindlessness.
Mindlessness.
Yeah, like positive, constructive daydreaming, letting your mind wander freely while you move. And get this, simply improving your walking posture, standing tall, shoulders back, can apparently increase your energy levels by 20% and decrease fatigue by a whopping 65%.
That's incredible, just the posture.
According to a 2008 American study, yes, stand tall when you walk.
Good tip. And the beauty of these more meditative, low-impact exercises like yoga and tai chi lies partly in how they positively impact our brain chemistry.
How so?
Well, they're known to increase those feel-good, mood-balancing neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. They also release endorphins, the body's natural pain relievers. And at the same time, they help lower levels of stress hormones like noradrenaline and cortisol.
So a double whammy, boosting the good stuff, lowering the bad stuff.
Exactly. As American psychology professor Melanie Greenberg puts it, there are times when you just need to kind of get moving and work through the body. When your mind is racing and stuck, sometimes the fastest way to find calm is through intentional physical motion.
Move the body, change the mind.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, finally, we really need to touch on what happens when stress crosses a line. We've talked about its potential benefits, how it can be a motivator, even aid development. But it's crucial to acknowledge that chronic, unmanaged stress can absolutely tip over into clinical illness. Physical symptoms alone, like those persistent tension headaches, often felt in the upper back, neck, or even the jaw, are very common warning signs.
You're absolutely right, and the link is undeniable. There's a well-established and, frankly, robust causal association between chronic stress and the development of clinical depression. We mentioned burnout earlier. It often mirrors the symptoms of depression very closely.
And it's not just depression, right?
It's not at all. Unchecked stress can manifest as various anxiety disorders. We're talking about generalized anxiety disorder, which is characterized by excessive, persistent worry about lots of different things. Then there's panic disorder, with its sudden, terrifying attacks of intense fear. There's post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which is a very real, often debilitating illness triggered by trauma, and notably, it's more common in women, affecting about 10% compared to around 4% of men. And social anxiety disorder, an intense fear of social situations and judgment.
These sound much more severe than just feeling stressed.
They are. These are serious conditions that profoundly impact a person's quality of life and functioning. They aren't character flaws or something you can just snap out of.
So the message here is clear. If you or someone you care about is experiencing these kinds of severe, persistent symptoms,
seeking medical help is not just advisable, it is absolutely crucial. Don't hesitate.
And what does help usually involve?
Our source strongly emphasizes that often a combination of approaches works best. This might include medication alongside therapy. Things like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, are highly effective for depression and anxiety. And therapies like EMDR, eye movement desensitization, and reprocessing can be particularly helpful for PTSD.
So professional help is key.
It is. And it's also important to remember that good self-care things we've discussed, like regular exercise, mindfulness practices, maintaining strong social support, these aren't just optional extras when dealing with these conditions. They are vital supplements to any prescribed medical treatment.
They support the formal treatment.
Exactly. The more you can actively reduce the general background stress in your life through these healthy habits, the more effective your professional treatment is likely to be.
Okay. So we've really covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, decoding stress. I think the big takeaway is that, yeah, stress is pretty much an inevitable part of life.
It really is.
But our relationship to it and our ability to cope, those are not fixed. They're skills. Skills that can be actively developed and profoundly strengthened.
Exactly right. As the American psychotherapist Amy Morin powerfully states, everyone has the ability to increase resilience to stress. It requires hard work and dedication, but over time, you can equip yourself to handle whatever life throws your way. It's an empowering message.
It really is. So after all this discussion, what does all of this mean for you, the
Well,
listener?
maybe consider Haruki Murakami's insightful quote, "Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional." Our deep dive today has hopefully eliminated that while challenges, difficulties, pain, they will always arise in life. That's the inevitable part.
Mm-hmm.
But you now have insights, tools, different perspectives. You have options for how you experience and respond to those challenges. You can transform your experience. It's about moving from simply enduring stress, perhaps passively, to consciously choosing to grow stronger, maybe even wiser because of it. So the question to leave you with is, how will you choose to transform your next challenge?